So finished up getting the main gear installed last night. And they're all drilled out and everything looks good. We flipped it over this morning so it's upright. And I'm going to start working on the controls. So on my last trip I got working on the fuselage section of the Tornado. So the end of my trip is here and I'm just kind of buttoning up everything. I decided to do a thing that I saw on another aircraft, which was to paint the control rods and control parts a different color than the gray powder coat. That way they just kind of stand out, so when you're doing inspections you can kind of see everything pretty clearly. It just stands out from the frame. So decided to go, I think the plan with this plane is I'm going to go with like a silver and blue color. I got the throttle controls installed. I got the main sticks and control tube installed, and then I also got the aileron driver installed in the back. So those are there. I need to do a little bit of work on the center section. So that plastic bushing there needs to be riveted in place, as well as the one in the back, and for now I'll just temporarily cleco them all into place so they're secure. And then this morning I started already working on the control sticks, so I'm going to get those mounted. And I got ahead of myself. I didn't record it and just started working on building, and so I'll walk through and explain what progress I've made and build. Control stick was the project that we were working on here. So the bottom part of the control stick, the actual part that is going to have a handle on it for your hand, is this part here. This is the push-pull rod here. So as you move forward and backwards, that push-pull rod moves inside the tube. The next part was to secure the push-pull tube, which is the larger tube that the push-pull rod runs through. And so there's a collar on this one. There's three collars. There's a collar here, a collar right here, and then this collar back here on the back. These two collars sandwich two plastic bearings, and so there's this plastic bearing here, and there's one on this side back here, and then there's also one in the front right here. And so those plastic bushings, this rod rides inside that plastic piece and does not touch the metal all the way around the tube, that outer tube right here. And so then this piece gets sandwiched, pushed tight in there, and the reason for that is that tube is solid in there and won't shift back and forth. So took a little bit of sanding to get the metal to make it a little bit larger than the plastic hole, and then drilled and riveted this into place, and did the same in the back. On this back piece you'll notice that the rivet head is on the other side, and there's a number 4 washer that's put over this part of the rivet, so that when you pull the rivet it binds against the metal washer and then sandwiches that with the rivet head on the other side, because otherwise as you pulled the rivet that plastic would stretch and deform, and that washer prevents that from happening. Then once we had that, the collars got pushed into place. Used clecos to hold it in place on all the parts, and then went through and riveted them in place. So this piece is permanently installed into the aircraft. And then on the back side, once those were riveted in place, the push-pull rod went in from the back. You have to twist it 90 degrees to slide it through, because this head right here won't fit through with the rivets when it's horizontal. So when it's rotated vertical, it'll slide through the push tube. And then all the bolts were put in, the front and the back. So the control sticks are in place. On the back side, there's a ball joint that's put in, and this is for the push-pull connector. So this is the forward push-pull rod that will connect to the tail boom. and that will allow to rotate as the control stick is moved around, and still have that forward and back motion. As it's forward and back, if you turn left or right, this will allow that to turn. This project was working on the aileron linkage from the inside of the aircraft. It's about 90% done. I have to come back and finish the other part once the wings are in place to put the final linkage in. So coming from the back of the control stick, there's a ball joint and a bolt that goes there. Those will not be done tight until we're all adjusted, so that we can make adjustments to the length of this as needed. But this is the rod here. I'll also pull that off and paint it blue. All of my linkage and parts are going to be blue, just so they stand out and can be seen fairly easy. Connected with a ball joint here and the bolt there. Once again, not going to tighten that up. Plastic bushing on the front and the back. And then this piece is also, when this end cap is bolted on and the other end cap is bolted on, it sandwiches this rod inside there, so it won't move. It'll only rotate inside that plastic. And then there's a spacer in here and the ball joint, and then eventually the aileron push-pull tube, which will mount here and goes up to the wing to control the ailerons, will be installed, but that will be done at a later time. Was working on the control section, so I've completed all the connections from the front to the back. Realized that I actually could size this control arm to the right side. Alright, so I've got the control sticks in the vertical position. So they're 90 degrees at the bubble level, stuck on the first control stick. Then I've adjusted this push-pull rod, or this rod right here, to where this is 90 degrees. And in the back, it looks like I'm a little bit off just by a degree or two. This needs to be at 90. This is at 90, and those are at 90, so that all the control inputs, I think that 1 degree we can make that up with the push-pull rod, because you can lengthen and shorten it, so that'll make up just a little bit of degree off. Now, otherwise, the control group is all now tied in. This piece here will come off to be painted, but otherwise it'll go back in. And so, moving on to the next project.